Good afternoon, everyone. How are we? It's a pretty intense day, isn't it, SEACON? It just kind of relentless. It comes at you. I got a bit of a challenge. Actually, a couple of challenges. One is, hello, I'm Daniel Terhorsnorth. If you don't know me, I've been around technology for about 30 years, causing mischief as a developer, as a team kind of human being coach, as an organization coach, as an executive coach. And over the last year, a couple of years or so, I've been having a bit of a crazy adventure. So this isn't really an experience report. It's more like a field report of a thing that's currently ongoing, okay? And what was I going to say? Oh, yes, so it's a new talk. It's about a 1-hour talk that I've done once now as a 45-minute talk, so I now have about a 25-minute slot between you lot and beer. So I added some stuff. So, right, one of the challenges I got is, can you get this into half an hour? Let's find out. The other is it possible to get a picture of a speaker, pointing at a picture of a speaker, pointing at a picture of a speaker? So, about 30 minutes ago, my good friend John Smart was dropping wisdom bombs for about half an hour. I was taking loads of photos of him, which was fun. But I don't want to talk about 30 minutes ago. I want to talk about where I was a couple of years ago, which was here. I was here a couple of years ago talking about this thing, scaling without a religious methodology. This came about as a tongue-in-cheek acronym of a guy fed up with safe and less and dad, and basically acronyms where what you do is you add an adjective to agile in a passive-aggressive way. Like, so if you say disciplined agile, it suggests all the other agile isn't, you see. Reliable scrum was one of my favourites, like as opposed to all the other kinds of scrum, which they've got a point, right? But you have to have a lowercase vowel, otherwise it isn't legit. So this is swarming, you're welcome. And I said, there's a number of things I said. There was two main things that I wanted to kind of land then. One was that there's a bunch of stuff that you just need in order to get started, your table stakes. So things like, you need time, right? It doesn't happen immediately. I love John's S-curve. Slightly concerned that his cumulative S-curve was going below his bar graph, which we need to talk about how cumulative, anyway. But yeah, start low, do not expect things to happen. And especially, and I'm seeing this in some of my team, that have come from, maybe they've just come from quite a successful engagement somewhere else where they've been for a chunk of time. And then they start, meeting, they start on a new thing, and they're like, this is taking a really long time for anything to... No, it always takes that long at the beginning. You've forgotten that because you're having so much fun once you get that massive cumulative effect. But still, it takes time, it takes investment, it takes communications, it takes leadership. It takes all kinds of really powerful things. I don't want to talk about that now because I want to talk about what I've been doing since. And the other thing I said is the model itself is deceptively straightforward and iterative. Visualize, stabilize, optimize. Visualize, see what's really there. Toyota Kata is a fantastic model for visualizing. Value stream mapping is a fantastic model for visualizing. Start small, get data, right? Get experiments, use experiments. Make things tangible, make things concrete. If you just wave your hands, it's a really good way to get some, cardiovascular exercise and lose credibility very quickly. And learn from your mistakes and iterate, and be prepared to iterate. And if you're not prepared to iterate, then again, if you're looking for a nice linear solution to something which is a complex adaptive problem, you're going to get a surprise. So that was 2 years ago. Anyway, about a year and a half ago now, so early 2018, I got an email from a company called Geo. Does anyone here know Geo? Has anyone heard of Geo? I'm seeing like 2 or 3 hands go up. Okay, yes, it's them, yeah. Is that Geo? Yes, it's actually, yeah. So I've never heard of these people, right? So who's Geo, okay? And it turns out Geo is part of a group of companies owned by this gentleman, Mukesh Ambani. Don't know who he is either. And anyway, they said, look, we've got this quite interesting proposition. We've seen some of your stuff, some of your talks and training and things, and we think you can help us. We're a 6,000 person, well, at the time, we're a 5,000 person startup. I was like, say that again. Yeah, no, we're a 5,000 person startup. Can you come and help us? I'm like, well, no idea. I really don't know. So usually what happens, like I'm very lucky my work is inbound. People contact me and they say, can you help us? And my default answer is, I don't know, let's chat and see. So they said, look, we're in Mumbai, can you come and visit? So I said, okay, well, I hadn't been to India before, which is, I'm embarrassed to admit it. I was working with ThoughtWorks for like nearly 8 years, and they opened their Bangalore office before they opened their London office, but I never made it out to India all my time in ThoughtWorks, and I haven't since. And anyway, so they said, come to India. I was like, great. And I said, okay, well, looking at my diary, the only time I can come out is either next week, which clearly isn't going to happen, or in about 6 weeks' time. And they said, when next week? So then the following week, having furiously applied for a visa online, gone and got whatever jabs I needed and all that kind of stuff, I find myself in Mumbai in the office of Jio. So let me tell you a little bit about Jio. They're a 4G network. They're the most successful 4G network in India. They're, I think, the second most successful 4G network in the world. Let me say it again. They've only existed. They started the idea for Jio about 6 years ago. Jio went live just over 3 years ago. So they built an India-wide network from scratch. Okay, and it launched 3 years ago, and it now has 360 million subscribers. Everything about how this company operates is completely, my brain just keeps exploding. Okay. At one point last year, they were onboarding 1 million customers a day. Right? And now it's settled to a reasonably steady 10 million a month. So that's okay, it's fine now, right? They've got all kinds of crazy stats. 2 million billing transactions a second. So this is financial transactions, things like top-ups and renews and whatever else. 2 million of those across their network every second, okay? Well, this is my favorite one. So a CDR record, a CDR transaction, is like the network doing something. So a handset connecting to a network or disconnecting or creating a call or whatever. 10 billion of those a day, right? And these numbers are out of date. These numbers are all old. Every time I do, see, the problem is I have to update my stats with at least 10 million people each month. Right? We're in November now. It's probably 370 million. I haven't looked. So completely unlike anything else I've ever heard of. And at that point, they had 5,000 people. They've now got 6,000 people. Okay, so that's Jio. And I'm like, okay, why haven't I heard of this? It's amazing. So India is weirdly insular. From the West, there's India. We don't really know what they're up to. This, right? This is what they're up to. So Mukesh Ambani, I'm there. I was there for a 3-day visit, and I went there to kind of meet some people and have a look around. And he visits the campus, like the site that the office is on, every week or so, just to check in and stuff. And he happened to be there when I was there. He said, Mr. Ambani wants to meet you. So I was like, fantastic. Google Mr. Ambani, and I went, oh, crap. Because it turns out, so he built an own Reliance Industries. He's got his own oil refinery, right? So his empire, if you like, goes from like hydrocarbons and fuel and oil refining and things through to synthetic materials and whatever, to retail, to telco, to all sorts of stuff. He's worth about $50 billion. So at one point, apparently just before the financial meltdown in 2007. He and his brother were the first and third richest people in the world, with like Bill Gates sandwiched in the middle there. He's dropped to 13. Yeah, it sucks, right? Anyway, I've got no idea who this guy is, and I'm really glad. I'm not like wowed by wealth. Okay, I've worked with a number of sort of ultra wealthy folks over the years, just in different contexts. And there's something unusual about Mukesh. I'll tell you in a minute. He believes, and everything I'm telling you now is reasonably public domain. Like he has an AGM, he gave his Reliance AGM earlier this year, in which he said, I believe India's economy will be worth $10 trillion by 2030, in the next decade, right? Subtext, and I'm going to have a chunk of that. Right? So this is what you'll find Googling him, okay? This is what I found spending time with him. He is a voracious learner. Okay, so he decided he wanted to go into telecoms. He's not been in telecoms before. So what does he do? He goes and learns the crap out of telecoms. I need to go and learn how telecoms works, right? And he has this wonderful model, calls it Scan, Focus, Act. So scan is I'm going to go and learn all about telcos and how that works. Focus, I'm going to build the first fully 4G network in India. Forget 2G, forget 3G, forget legacy analog stuff. I'm going to build, from the get-go, 4G network across India. Act, how's it going to work? Let's build this thing. And the way it works is this. Okay, so looking at mostly depressingly white faces. There's actually no. I'm going to say on film, SEACON. The diversity here makes me delighted. I'm really, really glad. I'm delighted at the number of people here who don't look like me. That's making me very, very pleased. But us Westerners then. If I said to you, we're going to go in, we've got 1.3 billion people in India, that's quite a market, right? And we're going to go in there and we're going to set up a telecom network. What would you do? How might you do that? How might you start that? What I said was, well, I'd start with the cities, right? I'd start with, Delhi and Mumbai and Bangalore and Chennai, and I'd go after all the big cities, and then work out from there. Wrong. Right, because it turns out that 70% of India lives in non-urban areas, like fully rural or semi-rural areas. Okay, if you target every single city in India, you're going to top out at 30%, right? And MDA, Mukesh Ambani, doesn't think like that. He thinks like an Indian. He thinks, right, I've got this big country full of people, and so what does he do? He grids the country out into 1,000 cells, and he says, put masts in all of that. And so they put masts in all of that, in all these little mini geos, and then suddenly, boom, he's got coverage of the whole of India. Switch it on. Cost a bit to do that, right? 30 billion and change, to do that. This is, people talk about big bets. At the point when he decided to do that, no one knew how to do voice on 4G. That would have been awkward. Go. Luckily, whilst all this was happening, someone solved voice on 4G, so he had a product. Right? That's a bet right there. That's another thing. As I said, I've worked with some kind of wealthy people. He doesn't have, so I've seen, usually there's like a glint in the eye, looking at the next deal and the next deal. He doesn't have that. He's like, I've got this wealth, I'm in this ridiculously privileged position, I feel that as a social imperative, a social obligation to raise up India, to raise up Indians. I'm like, and he means it, right? It's like my goal and his father's goal as well. So his father kind of built the initial business, if you like. My goal is to raise India and Indians, and if we can make a few bucks doing that, brilliant, right? So he's principled, he's driven. I don't have to say these things, right? The reason I work there, I'm independent. I can work with who I like. Yeah, this is a fun guy to work with. What he's doing is he's applying this tech innovation to connectivity, finance, education, hyper-local retail. So the last thing I'll mention about India is, actually not the last thing I'll mention about India, but something that's unusual, is this idea of hyper-local retail. So if you go into Indian cities, they all have a similar kind of template, if you like, because you have a vertical building like this and another building and another building. The ground floor of all the buildings tends to be retail, and all the other things are dwellings, right? And basically, this food shop, that's where these people shop. So you go downstairs and you buy your clothes, or you buy your food, and you go back upstairs, right? You go downstairs, you might want to buy some fabric, and if there's a fabric place here, they're called kiranas, like local businesses. If there's a fabric place, you buy it there. If not, you might go 1 or 2 blocks down, right? So hyper-local. Amazon doesn't know what to do with that, right? We don't know how that works. In India, that's normal, right? So this idea of hyper-local retail is a really interesting challenge. And what he's doing, and this is part of the reason I'm involved, he says, okay, Jio started as a 4G company, a 4G phone network. It's actually, I don't see it as that. I see it as a connectivity platform. And the connectivity platform is then going to do things like they're rolling out fibre to home. They've actually launched that a couple of months ago. Fibre to home, they want to get modestly 50 million people in the first year. Right? Remember, this is Jio, right? And so this is kind of what I meet. So I went out there, took a look around, and I interviewed a cross-section of people. So what I do is, it's called an initial assessment. I'm not selling, I'm quite busy at the moment, but this is what I do. One of the things I do is I go in and meet a bunch of your folks. And I come in and meet a cross-section of people and kind of play back what I saw. And I met a bunch of people there over this 2-3 day period. And I played back that I'd seen, some of the people things that I'd seen, some of the process things I'd seen, some of the technology things I'd seen, and some of the product management things I'd seen, and said, look, here's where I think you're really strong, here's where I think you could improve. And most of the story was around inconsistency. And here's what happens, right? And this is no surprise to anyone, because I imagine this is true of everywhere everyone works. Geo from the outside looks like this, this huge success, massive customer base, really high customer satisfaction. Ask Geo customers, they're all very happy people. They love their 4G. I'm standing in the middle of Mumbai with my phone getting 50 megabits download speed. That's faster than my Sky broadband at home. Right? That's just completely insane. Geo from the inside, the little duck's feet are going, hey, like this. And their former CTO, wonderful chap called Stephen Covey, lovely German chap, it's effective. It's really effective, but not that efficient. And culture shock. I go to Mumbai, I get culture shock. He's German, right? He really struggled for a time. So essentially, what we had was this. So they had two questions. Mr. Ambani had two questions. He says, how efficient are we as an organisation, and how can we become more efficient? And as I said, I looked around and met some people, and I said, well, I can give you an answer to the first question. How efficient are you? You don't know. It's impossible to know, right? It's not just that you don't know, it's that you can't know. You're not measuring efficiency in any meaningful way. You're measuring how busy people are, how much work they're doing, right? How much typing is going on, right? None of that is at all useful. How do we become more efficient? I can do better there. I have an answer to that. It's not my answer, it's someone else's answer. It's theory of constraints. Okay, the way you become more efficient at anything is theory of constraints. First thing is we need to define the goal. What do we mean by efficient? And what we mean by efficient is how quickly and effectively can we turn ideas into realizable value? How quickly and effectively can we meet customer need? So this is about flow efficiency. How quickly can we create, build, realize value through an organization, which is doing the work. And then how quickly can we become better at doing the work, which is Kaizen. Yeah, so like your job is doing the work and making it easier to do the work. Identify what we think is slowing us down. Move from obstacle to obstacle, okay? Mobilize around that. Coordinate, trust, and verify. It's too big an organization moving too quickly for everyone to know about everything. So if I ask you to go and solve this problem for me, you look pretty smart. I reckon you'll have some opinions. You'll go and you'll have a crack at it and we'll check in. And it'll probably be fine. Right? If I micromanage that, I've got no time to micromanage her. Right? That's never going to work. Okay, coordinate, trust, and verify. And then anyone who's ever been in a band, right? So ad lib to fade is, what happens is when you get to the end of a song, and it's a really good song, but you're not quite sure how you're going to finish it, you just keep playing it. You keep going round and round and round and round, and then the sound engineer does this. It's called an ad lib to fade, right? So the best ad lib to fade ever is I Am the Resurrection. Anyway, Stone Roses, fantastic song. Two fake endings. So ad lib to fade, what I mean by that is this. I don't know how this is going to end. What I do know is it mostly ends with us moonwalking off, we're gone and the organisation is now completely self-sufficient. All the external help left. So here's what we've got, okay? Here's what we've got. Given where we're at, given the things I found, I suggested that this might be a way we could approach things. Here's my program structure. Do not copy, right? Spotify model, do not copy, yeah? There are no tribes and guilds. So the first stream we have is geo people. So this is, I've got these 6,000 people, mostly really smart people, like they're pretty good at hiring. And unfortunately, none of them know each other. They know who's in their team, they know who their boss is, they might know who their boss's boss is, but basically you've got lots and lots of siloed stuff going on, okay? And that's one of the kind of people issues. Another people issue or challenge is about how you grow your career. How do you manage your career? How do you grow and become, acquire new skills, do different things, navigate the organization? So Geo People is about community and it's about career. The next thing is about creating value. This is all about flow. We're really good at doing work. We're not really good at understanding whether it's useful work or the right work or impactful work or whether it's what we should be doing, whether it ties in with the other things we should be doing. So creating value is all about what some people would call ways of working, or other people would call flow efficiency. We're calling it creating value. Third stream, and again, there's pockets of excellence of this all across Geo. They're just not joined up. Engineering excellence. You don't accidentally build a billing system that can sustain 360 million concurrent users, right? That doesn't accidentally happen, right? You don't accidentally build a system that has IPL, so the Indian Premier League, like their cricket league, is everyone in India follows IPL. And when you gamify IPL and you have people voting on things and playing games and stuff like that, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type games, building the infrastructure for that doesn't just happen. So there's pockets of amazing, it's just how do you make that normal across the organization. Meeting customer needs, this is all about product management. Are we building the right thing? So creating value is building the thing right. Engineering excellence is building the thing right. Meeting customer needs, building the right thing, okay? Designing future Geo is this org design thing, is understanding that we are a network of platforms, of products and services with APIs that collaborate with other products and services with APIs and that stuff, right? And then the last one, reinventing leadership. So this is, we've got, as in many organizations, certainly many Western organizations, also culturally in India, we have an organization that we're full of people who are very, very good supervisors. They're very good at allocating work, they're very good at monitoring work, they're very good at getting people to do things. What I want to do is flip the whole thing on its head. What you'll notice is that each of these streams is named as a goal. It's named as a movie title, not as the activity, right? So creating value is the point of that work. Geo people is the point of that work. Designing future Geo is the point of that work. Yeah? So why we deliberately didn't call it ways of working. Who cares, right? I'm doing ways of working. I'm figuring out how 6,000 people can create value more effectively. Boom, let me be part of that, okay? And then there's a seventh stream that goes across all of them that we call program success. Now, this is just a static diagram. We need to populate it. We're populating it with pairs of people. So we tend to have an external expert and an internal buddy. And these are the leads for each stream. And the idea is, again, ad lib to fade over time. The external person becomes irrelevant, redundant, and the internal person runs with that stream. And then, so I presented this to Mukesh Ambani, and he said, I like this, except, oh no, sorry, there's one other piece as well, which is executive sponsors. So when you have a big hierarchical organization, you need someone who's senior enough to be able to push doors open. So call people to a meeting and have them turn up, that kind of thing, right? And he said, I like this, we're missing something. What we're missing is future leaders. And I was like, oh, I like that. So each group now each stream has a shadow, and that shadow is typically someone young and eager and has much more energy than me. And what they're doing is they're in the thick of it. They're not just a minion. They're in the thick of it, and they're learning how this stuff works, because one day, ideally, everything shifts across one. The external lead falls out. The shadow becomes the other lead, and so on, right? So do not copy this, but of course do copy it. What I mean is copy the thinking that went into this. This is what we considered the 6 biggest obstacles, opportunities, challenges to turn this 6,000 person organization into an unbelievably high performing organization. It's already very successful, now let's make it high performing. Yours won't be these, right? So please go through this process. It's a really useful exercise, right? Don't copy that, yeah? Operating model then is this, and here's how I'm doing things. It's really simple. Hire the best people I can. I'm going to name names. So for my Geo people stream, what I needed was someone who can create communities of practice, communities of interest across multiple geographies, multiple cultures, multiple different groups of people. And so I just went Emily Webber. Right? If there's someone I want to do communities of practice, it's Emily Webber. I'm lucky enough that I know Emily Webber, and I said, Emily, I've got this really crazy gig in India. Do you want to come along? And she said, I'm busy right now. I was like, how long for? She said, a year. So I said, I'll wait. So what I did is I waited, and about a few months ago, Emily joined the team. Yes. Right? In the meantime, she gave me some coaching. Because I said, look, I can't just wait, this thing can't not move until you get there. So what I'll do is I'll start driving some of this stuff, but I'll check in with you to make sure I'm not saying stupid things, right? And so I'd say, I had this conversation. She said, well, try saying this other thing. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so she gave me some kind of informal coaching while we were getting... another lady, Anna Urbaniak, who I know a couple of folks here know. Utterly brilliant delivery person. Right, so really understands flow efficiency, really understands metrics. She's an absolute metrics nerd, it's brilliant. And the secret weapon with Anna is her background is PMI. So she comes from PMI, speaks Prince, speaks all of that stuff. And then she learns about flow and she goes, this is obviously right. And then I say, right, can you go and tell those people? So she goes into the PMO and she says, hi, and they go, oh, who are you? I'm, Anna Urbaniak, PMP, qualified, And they go, oh, welcome, friend. And then she goes, flow, and they all go, it's just wonderful. So she's my secret weapon. Co-create guiding principles. So I bring this brilliant person in. I say, right, you and I are going to build this thing. You tell me how it's going to work, right, and then I'm going to get out of your way, okay? You cannot over-communicate. You cannot over-communicate when you're doing this. Upwards. So this is communicating. I have a regular sort of monthly check-in with Mr. Ambani and the exec team and all of those folks, and we have some banter and fun and whatever else about what's going on. So I'm communicating upwards, communicating sideways. So all of my peers in the organisation, so all the kind of senior managers, we're having these regular leadership updates, and every now and then they pop up on LinkedIn because our HR business partner, this lovely guy Satya, he's really excited about this. Like he's posting like things on LinkedIn about it. And downwards, communicate into the organisation. Okay, so one of the, if you look at lovely Dr. Nicole Forsgren's 24 accelerate capabilities, you look at the leadership capabilities, and one of them is about frequent broadcast communication. If you're not doing that, you will lose people. You won't bring them on the journey with you. And hold yourselves accountable, right? We have program OKRs. We're treating the OKRs like we're treating the program like a program. We're treating the transition piece like its own program. It has goals. We're now publishing our third set of OKRs in the middle of a quarter because we still haven't got very good at it yet. We are routinely missing our objectives. We are routinely missing our key results. Not because we're lazy, because we're really ambitious and we're trying to do crazy stuff and it's not going as fast as I'd like and it's really frustrating and it doesn't matter. What matters is we're being super transparent about where we're trying to get to. Set true north, hold ourselves accountable, and also generates excitement. If I say by the end of this quarter, I want to have all 6 of those external lead roles filled, right? That generates excitement because I've only got 3 of them so far, right? And they're like, oh, who's in the pipeline? How can we help? So this is then what it looks like as an operating model, if you like. So we've got our 6 streams, our 6+1 streams. We've got whatever the current business priorities are. And then those priorities set what goes in the bucket for this quarter's OKRs. And there's different colours of things. So sometimes, in this quarter here, there might be a whole bunch of stuff about people. And then once that starts to kind of get into its own groove, we can now start looking at maybe some of the product stuff and meeting customer needs, and so on. So quarter by quarter, there's a different flavour of emphasis, but it's all the same programme. And I love these little feet. By the way, something that you'll notice, or you probably won't notice because it's subtle, is all of the colours on here are awesome. All of the graphics on here are awesome. The font on here is awesome. Okay? The reason for that is Emily, actually. The reason for that is Emily and Anna. The reason for that is this, is as a team, we take communication very seriously. The graphical cues in communication themselves are a language. So these colours are not random colours. These colours were chosen by something else about Emily Webber you might not know. Everyone knows, or most of you will know about her work with building communities of practice. Most of you won't know that before that she was a very successful agile delivery coach. Almost none of you will know that she has a master's in fine art from Slade Art School. She's really good, right? And so she's put together this set of colours, and she says these colours are in harmony, they're balanced. And what that means is that when I publish something about engineering excellence, the page furniture is that green. So anyone can glance at it and go, that's an engineering thing. Okay? So you start to create cues with the visual language you use. right? So all of this stuff is deliberate. Things I'm learning, just to wrap up. Things I'm learning then, because I'm standing between you and beer. Or was that it? Was that I'm out of time? So I just heard a beep. Okay, get him off. Things I'd like to say learning. I'm actually relearning things that I thought and I probably should know, and I hadn't really thought about it, including things I didn't notice, so other people had to tell me. The first thing someone told me, this was over the summer, and actually someone I'm trying to hire at the moment. He said, "You realise you're building an organisation within an organisation, right? You know, this program team you're building is itself an organisation, and all the stuff you know about org design that applies to you and your." I was like, oh. Face, of course it does. Of course, like it's hiding in plain sight. Of course it does. So what does that mean? That means hire people better than me. That means trust and verify. That means get out of their way. That means over-communicate. That means all the stuff I'm telling my client I should do. Dog food, yeah. So everything that implies hiring, right, is about building an organisation. Anna gave me some really useful feedback. She said, "Your job is," she called me program director. Terrified me. I'm like, "I'm not a program director. That sounds really grown up. I'm not that." She said, "You know, your job," because I was getting frustrated. I was saying, "Look, I'm not doing this, and I'm failing on this, and I want to get this out, and I want to publish this." And she said, "You're building this right now, you know, mobilizing. If all you do in the next quarter or a couple of quarters is mobilize this program, that's a win." And I was like, "Oh, cut yourself some slack, sunshine." I was like, "Yeah, that's quite nice." Hiring is tough, right? If you are not, as someone building, mobilizing a program like this, if you're not spending most of your time hiring, you're doing it wrong. Okay, the team you build is utterly, utterly vital. It's okay to fail upwards. Very briefly, for two of the people I've tried to bring in as stream leads are accidentally too good. Right? So I said, so for the reinventing leadership thing, I knew I wanted a different kind of leadership development piece. I've seen leadership programs, and they're nice, and they're beautifully presented, and they're whatever, and you see the people that come out, and you go, yeah, that was expensive. You know, I didn't really see any. What I want is something that is going to change someone's core, their values, their behavior. They're going to go through this process. They're going to come out a voracious, lifelong learner, right? That's that flip. They're going to want to servant lead because they understand the value of it. They learn these OODA models and these Toyota Kata models, but they are just tools in a tool belt. And the goal is to make their teams awesome whilst being invisible, right? And if that shift doesn't happen, it was useless to me. So I mentioned this to a couple of my buddies, and they both said, we want to build this. And so they went and built it. And so I then went and presented this to Mukesh Ambani. I said, look, we've put together this thing. And he said, I want that for the whole of Reliance. I was like, sorry? so I thought what I had now was my program leads and my thing. No, my 300,000 person organization, I want you to build oh, crap. Right. So A, got a new job. So that, I call that failing upwards. Right? I still have the problem of needing some leadership leads for my leadership stream, and we now have this really exciting thing going on. Consistency in communication is a design choice. I've mentioned this. I could go on about this a lot. But consistency in communications, everything that's coming out of everyone in the program needs to look as though it came from the same voice, the same sound, the same mouth, the same everything. And speaking truth to power really can work. So, where next? Onwards and upwards. It does feel like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, okay? I'm still pinching myself. Team's growing. As I said, I can wait, right? Never settle second best. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this: swarming is the only way I can imagine this working. They did actually have, it turns out, a number of iterations before I got involved, and they did use some large agile method type things, and it didn't really work out. So, thank you for listening, especially because I'm between you and beer. So.